Boo! At 11. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Hoth Topics, a podcast about Star Wars. My name is Ian. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, John. Hello, John. Once again, we are titleless because I forgot to do that. So
are we done with that gimmick?
No, I'd actually like to continue it. I just need to remember next time.
So unprepared.
I know.
So unprofessional.
I know.
So Ian, what do you got for us today?
Well, by the time this comes out, John, it'll be the week of Halloween.
I've heard of that.
It's like this holiday of spookiness and scariness and creepiness.
It's like Life Day, except the opposite.
See, I don't understand Life Day enough to understand what its opposite would be.
That's upsetting.
I mean,
Please downvote this video or
no.
Radio.
I've seen what Life Day is, but seeing doesn't equal understanding.
But you don't know what Life Day
right.
is. You
I don't
have
know
the tangible feeling of community and family the Life Day gives to the rest of us.
Is that what happens? Because I thought you just touched an orb and got to walk into outer space.
Well, yeah, that's part of it.
Okay. So now you get to touch a cube and walk in underspace.
Ooh.
Inner space.
The place within. Place between worlds.
The Shadow Realm.
Shadow Realm. Definitely Shadow Realm. Kaiba!
You've activated my pointless tangent.
So what did I have to do? Yeah. So what are we doing?
Well, John, so Star Wars is known for being a sort of sci-fi or fantasy adventure, or sci-fi fantasy adventure, if you would, but it's not without its creepy elements. Ooh. Honestly, though,
nailing it right now.
there is stuff in Star Wars that freaked me out when I was younger, and we actually reached out to the community, and we got a couple responses back on stuff that creeped them out during their time in Star Wars. I thought we'd go over some of that today.
Okay.
In this
Sounds good.
October heat.
I've been too busy with that blaster build, so I haven't done any sort of prep for this episode.
That's all right. I think I can get you talking on a couple points here. So the first person that we heard from, I'm going to do this a little differently. Bring up some of the stuff that our audience has brought to our attention first this time around, and then we can kind of go into anything relevant to that. So we had a couple people write in. As you might know, John, last week I guested on the A Conversation With podcast, and the host Jason sent us a tweet today when I was asking for what the scary, what creepy or scary moments people think about in Star Wars, and he said, well, surely it's Maul's spider legs for you, Ian.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
Spider Leg Maul is pretty creepy Maul. I mean, he's pretty creepy Maul up until they get to Mandalore. He's like kind of like psychotic crazy.
Right.
Then he gets to Mandalore and kind of just becomes regular crazy.
He mellows a bit, and then we see him again in Rebels, and then he becomes
He's crazy
again.
But like the old guy walking down the street, muttering to himself. In space, creepy.
Yeah. Psychotic Maul, though, like, he was legitimately unnerving. I wouldn't necessarily say he was scary in the sense of spooky, scary skeletons scary, but he was legitimately unsettling. And I don't like spiders, so yes, the spider's legs were kind of terrifying as well.
The spider legs, again, that are powered and controlled by Maul's hatred for Obi-Wan.
Yep, it's Star Wars. Star Wars is, John's got this look on his face of just, disappointment.
I mean, I get it. It's fantasy, but sometimes guys. Sometimes I just want everything to be the Dark Knight, and other times I really don't want that ever.
Right. Well, actually, it's funny you bring that up. One of the ones that I had thought of for a creepy moment, I don't know if you remember playing Knights of the Old Republic 2. The Paragus mining facility the prologue part where you're in that abandoned mining facility and you wake up and nobody's around and you have to like figure out what happened. I think that just the atmosphere with that and the clever cutaways to Darth Sion just annihilating a Republic ship and then ghosting it into dock. That was, at the time for me, legitimately a creepy gameplay experience. It's nothing compared to some other more modern type BioShock or whatever. Still, for Star Wars, it turned the creep factor up a bit. It was pretty unnerving. I don't know. What did you think of that section of the game?
I don't remember it. The KOTOR games are very long. And the version of KOTOR 2 I had was just a bug fest wrapped in a Star Wars packaging. So there's a good chance the game crashed before I even got that far in the game.
It's the first level.
It's the game crash all the time.
Well then, did you play Jedi Academy ever?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's the Dark Forces series of Dark Forces.
Don't
Jedi
even get me
Knight.
started on that rant. Nowhere in the Jedi Academy series or Jedi Knight series does it even acknowledge that it's Dark Forces, except for in Jedi Knight, the first one, which is Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight, and then it just drops the Dark Forces, because I guess there's no Dark Forces anymore, right, Ian? You eliminated all the Dark Forces, so there's no Dark Forces, just Jedi Knights. Or Jedi Academies.
I've upset John, and I think that's scary.
I miss Kyle's leather jacket. I don't care for wisely older teacher looking Katarn. Just turn up realistic lightsaber combat and then have fun.
Well,
make any boss super easy or incredibly difficult.
I specifically remember as a kid playing through that game, and there's a point in, I think it happens in a couple levels, but the part I remember, it was at the very last level where you're going through the Sith Temple on Korriban, and there are all these Sith and Jedi fighting.
Where's that?
I have been over this multiple times. It should just be called Korriban. They just named it to Moraband. It's the same place. All they did was change the name. It was a really stupid decision. It's one of the only little pet peeves I have about the new canon, old canon switch. But in the game, it was Korriban.
Maybe we should change the theme of this episode to just things that piss us off for no reason.
Be scared! But on Korriban, there are parts where you'll just go through these doorways and Sith will just, not Sith, but the Dark Force users in the game. Just
no Dark Force.
You're stupid. They'll just be on the other side of a door and just come out with a lightsaber in your face, and you're just holy crap, or one just drops from the ceiling. It's more of a jump scare, sort of and then you cut them in half.
Realistic saber combat
And dismemberment
was the best.
have them both turned on.
When you first approached me with this topic, I was thinking we were just going to talk about television movie media.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about the games, and I know that there were parts when I was a kid playing Dark Forces or the Jedi Knight prequels, as I like to call them. Never. Due to my own ineptitude on how to manage inventory, I'd be ending up blindly running through sewers fighting Dianogas in complete and total darkness.
Ooh.
Those parts are not fun because it's squashing noises of you in this water, and then every now and then the Dianoga popping out, and then you don't know where it is, so then you just fire your Briar blaster everywhere, Briar pistol.
It's interesting you mentioned the Dianogas. It's weird. Mike mentioning the Palpatine electrocuting, you mentioned the Dianogas. I'm remembering being freaked out by stuff when I was a young kid. The Dianoga absolutely creeped me out as a kid. Just an eyeball coming out of trash to look at you and then going back in.
See, that thing never bugged me because I think I understood the utility of having such a creature. That it's just he's just in the trash compactor to eat trash, and it's pretty smart.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the logistical benefits of having a trash-eating space creature in your compactor when I was 6.
Oh, that's weird.
I just saw eyeball, tentacle, and frightening.
And one less Luke.
And one less Luke,
For a little bit.
There was a Luke, and then there wasn't a Luke, and then there was a much more moist, a much more moist Luke,
which is a 6-inch Black Series figure that's going to be released.
Dianoga or
no, the slightly more wet Luke and Stormtrooper uniform.
That's weird.
So, I think on our last episode, or maybe not even in an episode, I don't know. We talk a lot about Star Wars here and there.
And everywhere.
I was saying how, with the Black Series figures, or the action figures in general, I don't want to keep paying $20 for the same body sculpt with a slightly different head.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, this is Luke in a regular Stormtrooper uniform. So the armor's going to be already something that exists. It's a new head sculpt, and they're going to be painting some brown and green marks on the armor. And I'm probably going to buy it just so that I have an excuse to have another Stormtrooper in my army.
You can buy as many Stormtroopers as you want, John. Nobody's going to stop you.
They might.
I won't.
Okay. I believe in you. What's next? What else creep people out?
Well, Katie came in with 2 comments. One was Jabba just being genuinely frightening. And yeah, like thinking back on it, you have this giant slug that eats live animals, drools, has a massive tongue and giant mouth that looks like he could fit people in there. Like, he keeps slaves, he feeds people to a Rancor. Rancor as well would be kind of a creepy thing, monster-wise. So, yeah, kind of just a scary dude all around.
Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs.
Yeah,
it's far more creepier Hut.
I agree,
because he's consists of melted cheese that is constantly melting more, and pepperoni.
Yeah,
and his henchman eats him.
He bubbles too,
yeah.
Which was like the weird thing about it. Like, oh, creepy. Then she also,
Mel Brooks.
Yeah, she also said, when you think about it, freezing someone in carbonite is kind of creepy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why they needed to do it, because they've said, like, it's not meant to keep people alive, it's meant to store gas.
Well, the reason they did it was Vader didn't care about freezing Han in carbonite. He wanted to freeze. He used Han as a test subject so that they could freeze Luke.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
And having, you could just put Han in handcuffs and take him wherever you want, but
shoot him.
If you're going to put a Force sensitive in handcuffs, he better be knocked out or frozen in something.
Oh, you couldn't just shoot him because he's no use to him dead. Right.
He was a draw.
Ba-dum-bum.
Wow. Anyway, now, a friend of mine, Karth, he named 4 different ones, and I think these 4 are 2 of them at least are pretty detailed.
Okay, Karth, thanks for doing our work for us.
Yeah,
we
thanks,
appreciate
buddy.
That, man.
That's why we love our community. They give us suggestions.
So we don't have to.
So, he said, Abeloth, rat ghouls, exogorths, and, quote, whatever the hell the space squid was in Solo.
Okay, rat ghouls, totally.
Now, the rat ghouls, if you don't know what they are, they're...
Ian, have you ever played KOTOR?
Have I?
Oh, wait, are they in KOTOR or are they just in Star Wars Online?
They're in KOTOR.
Online.
They're in KOTOR. That's kind of where they originated.
Okay.
So the creepy thing about rat ghouls for me is that they're your basic zombie plague. Like, think about your basic zombie movie or whatever.
They're the flood of Star Wars.
Yeah, they're that. But they turn you into a mutant, a mindless mutant with one eye and claws. And they can run on all 4s, like, really fast. They live in sewers. They're terrifying. And I don't know if you know the history of how they came to be at all.
Did it have something to do with the Infinite Empire?
No, actually.
What?
It had to do with the Sith. So there was this Sith guy named Mur, M-U-U-R.
What up, Mur?
and it's an amazing name, and I'm gonna just keep calling him Mur.
Mur.
So, good old Mur was a Sith who was an expert in Sith sorcery, and he essentially infused his essence and dark side power into a talisman. The talisman, essentially what it did is it just transformed people that he wanted it to into Rakghouls. There was a flaw in this plan, and he could command the Rakghouls. Like, that was the reason why he did it. Now, the flaw in this plan is that it didn't really work against force sensitives and certain species. The entire reason he made it was to fight other force sensitives, like rivals and all that. He genetically engineered a plague that did the talisman's work for him on other people, so that if you get bit by a Rakghoul, and that's where the common zombie practice comes at. Now,
how much of that is canon?
None of this is canon, because
I should edit this part out.
No, don't do that. Don't be that guy.
We're a canon-only podcast.
No, we are not. We have never said that. This story actually carries all the way into the Legacy era, there's Jedi Knight called Celeste Morn, and one way or another, she found and took the talisman, the Mur talisman. The plus side, she could control the Rakghouls and stop them from being created. Downside, she had this long-dead Sith's voice in her head, so she went into stasis. And I'm not entirely sure how the next course of events happened, but somehow Vader found her, woke her up, she tried to kill Vader. Vader was superior. Then she...
Why is Vader in the Legacy era?
I said this goes through the Legacy era.
Okay. So we're not at the Legacy era.
Era yet.
Thank you. Very confused why.
So Vader, she's in stasis from Old Republic times till Vader finds her. Wakes her up. She can't beat Vader, so she turns all of his stormtroopers into Rakghouls using the talisman. Vader basically says, "I'm out," and leaves her stranded on this moon. Somehow another Star Destroyer comes by, and she takes that over and turns it into a ghost ship with Rakghouls in it, and goes back into stasis, I think, for a long time. And then once the Legacy era comes up, Cade Skywalker, this is like 130 some odd years BBY, or ABY rather, Cade Skywalker finds the ship, and then she starts turning people into Rakghouls as well, and eventually he ends up destroying the talisman, stopping the creation of more Rakghouls via the talisman. So now there's, like, as long as you can eradicate all the Rakghouls without the virus spreading, you can actually kill them all now. I think it was kind of interesting that sort of idea of the Rakghouls, which started as just weird mutants in the sewers in KOTOR, spread through all these different stories. Because I think the Legacy thing took place in the comics, both Old Republic and the Legacy comic. Yeah, so Rakghouls, creepy zombie mutants made from Sith magic. What do you think?
Yeah, they're pretty creepy. I don't like fighting them. They're boring to fight. Something like a game where they emphasize using lightsabers and stuff. I always found that using close combat weapons was more effective, but fighting these things that just rush up on you was always not fun. I find levels with them tedious. I will skip any level with the Flood in Halo. It's just not interesting at all to me to shoot mindless waves of zombies. So, that's my opinion on Rakghouls.
John, I'm beginning to think that you're not really creeped out by much. You just find creepy things boring.
Yes. For the most part. It's side effect of growing up with the goth kids.
Ah, I see.
Creepy things are sometimes interesting, but sometimes they get, like zombies, it's just overdone. Like, I don't want to play another game with a zombie mode. I don't care. Please, instead of programming bots to run at me, make levels and story. And they're not going to do that. We're just going to get zombie mode and Battle Royale. Soon, Battle Royale with zombies. Guarantee it. You heard it here first. Exclusive.
I'm pretty sure that's what the new Call of Duty game is.
I don't know. I'm not paying attention to it.
It's promoting both zombies and a Battle Royale mode.
I can't think of the last time
together.
I read the gaming news and was like, I'm excited for that game.
Yeah.
Borderlands 3. It's about it. Kerbal Space Program. I like that game. No zombies in it. And really no story.
No. No, it's a science simulator.
It's legitimately a series of fetch quests or a sandbox. You choose.
Well, so we had the rat ghouls, the exogorths. The exogorths were the
space slugs.
Yeah, space slugs. Yep. With the Millennium Falcon came in and landed in. I wasn't so much creeped out by the space slug itself than I was the Minox.
Okay.
So, like, there's that scene in Empire.
There's only one with Minox, man.
Yeah, there's that scene in Empire where, like, Leia's looking out the window and...
Jump scare.
Yeah, the jump scare with the Minox. And, like, looking back on it, too, it's not even, like, a true jump scare because, like, the thing kind of, like... It almost looks like somebody lobbed it at the screen.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't just appear. It just kind of looks like somebody went... Splat! And it hit the window. But, like, it was the mouth that freaked me out. Because I thought the mouth wasn't just the mouth. I thought it was, like, its entire head. So I just thought its head was a sunflower fleshy hole. Which, come to think of it, kind of reminds me of the... I don't know if you watch Stranger Things.
Demigorgon?
The Demigorgon in Stranger Things had the face that opened up into that flower shape, and it's just a hole with teeth.
Calm down, Guillermo del Toro. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. He does great. He has movies with a lot of great monster effects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, Guillermo... You said Guillermo del Toro, and my brain heard Benicio del Toro, and I was like, what does DJ have to do with this? No. Yeah, you're right.
It's because DJ's face
looks
like a Minox. We'll get there. We're going to workshop this.
No, Benicio del Toro.
There's a joke there.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro has a lot of really good monster effects in it.
Guillermo del Toro.
Is that what I said?
You said Benicio again.
I did?
You did.
Oh, I thought I said Guillermo.
You did not.
Oh.
You said Benicio like three times.
We have the tape. We can always play it back. But the audience will know, and that's the important part.
You've heard it first. Hoth Topics is recorded on tape.
That's a side effect from us working in a studio that is
a television studio that's technology never progressed past 84.
So yeah, Minox and Exogorths.
The Minox jump scare always got me. The Exogorths never like creeped me out or scared me. I didn't understand how they exist and why they have an atmosphere with breathable oxygen. Well, I guess not breathable, but it has an atmosphere that you can exist in without a suit. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, it's internal.
But at the same time, this is a universe where an X-Wing pilot can eject from his craft and exist in space without a full suit for hours or days or however long it takes to find Wedge Antilles after he ejects for like the 17th time in the X-Wing series.
Well,
if anyone out there knows how Exogorths create an atmosphere inside themselves, please. That's it. I won't respond.
So here's my nonsense fake science theory. In Solo.
Sorry.
What?
You said your fake nonsense theory. My initial reaction was because it was filmed in a studio on Earth, where there's an atmosphere.
Well, so my fake science theory is that. In Solo, we hear the space squid referred to as a vacuum-breathing life form. So, if you breathe in vacuum, you exhale oxygen.
If you breathe in nothing, your body has organs that can transform that nothing into something. We need to figure out how to harness that technology because I'm pretty sure that might be how the Star Forge was created.
Hey, now
taking nothing and creating fleets.
In my defense, in real science, space is not empty. There is stuff in there. It's not just
like satellites,
nothing.
Planets and stars.
No. I mean, like, there
ghosts.
Is
space ghosts.
Coast to coast?
Coast to coast.
So speaking of the vacuum breathing space squid, that thing's name, apparently, it's called a Suma verminoth.
Yeah.
According to
sounds about right.
According to Wikipedia, it is terrifying. It has too many eyes.
Watching its skin get ripped off was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though I can see how normal, non-desensitized people like myself could find that kind of terrifying. I was like, that's really good on the effects team. That looks great.
Yeah, no, it did. It's interesting because it's a very Lovecraftian design.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because of eyes and tentacles and the Euclidean geometry of the entire thing.
Right.
Madness.
And it exists out in, the middle of
Wild
a
space.
demon space cloud with a black hole, just sitting there. Also, it can electrocute you, which is weird.
Yeah. It breathes in nothing.
Right,
And
and
creates
it produces electricity.
Yeah, I mean, so Exogorth and one of these guys, and you can get a Starforge going.
Right, absolutely. So the last one that Karth mentioned was...
Carl, thanks for doing our job again.
Yeah, technically it was the first one he mentioned, but Abeloth. Now, John, do you know what or who Abeloth is?
Abeloth sounds like a Call of Cthulhu old one.
Okay.
I think it's the combination of Ab and Loth, which makes it sound like it's ancient.
Sure.
Other than that, no idea.
So you're actually kind of hitting the nail on the head there. Abeloth is from the Fate of the Jedi run of books that started in 2009, and this run was, I think it was post the Solo twins, Jason and Jaina coming to Jason becoming a Dark Lord and all that. You remember the old ones from the Clone Wars series on Mortis?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that I am
you have issues with?
I have concerns over. So in this story, a woman came to their planet before they were on Mortis, became the mother, but she was a mortal person, and she grew older while the father, the sister, and the brother stayed the same, and she was worried that they were going to abandon her. So she drank from the font of power and bathed in the, pool of knowledge or whatever? The light side and the dark side MacGuffins from the Mortis arc. And because she's mortal, it essentially drove her nuts. She became this ridiculously powerful force entity. The Mortis gods up and left, and they mind-controlled the Killiks on Alderaan to construct Centerpoint Station and another station called... I can't remember what the other one was called. But Centerpoint Station was used to create the black holes around their original planet, and that's what the Maw was in the Legends canon. You remember Centerpoint Station, yeah?
Yeah. I didn't know that they had created the backstory for it so relatively recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I knew that it was tens of thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And that they used it to move planets.
So what's super interesting about it is that this story, even though it's a Legends story at this point, you mentioned the relatively newness of it. It had to have taken place after the Mortis arc of Clone Wars happened. So it's the storyline that happened sooner, more recently than we think. So she basically turned into this Lovecraftian god. That's literally what she became. A Lovecraftian old god. So she had crazy mind control powers. She used avatars, could control people and drive them nuts. And she even, throughout the story, she got elected to Supreme Chancellorship. So here we go again with evil entity seizing power over a democracy because bureaucracy. Made Sith and Jedi fight each other. So she's kind of like this uber powerful force thing. And listen to this description of her true form. She's a woman with an overly large mouth, stubby arms, and hands with long, writhing tentacles instead of fingers. So, very Lovecraft. There's a whole bit in those stories about, Luke traveling to, a shadow dimension, that it's basically astral projecting in order to face her down and fight her. It's a wild story, and had a lot of influence in that sort of Cthulhu mythos sort of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
In all honesty, that story sounds horrible to me.
Yeah, because force sensitive.
All I'm hearing in that
wonkiness.
is that, to be fair, I've never read it, and I don't know who wrote it, but it really sounds somebody was like, oh, I need to make a mark on Star Wars by making a new all-time baddie, and that's never been interesting to me in Star Wars.
Yeah, you're like, kind of stuck in the one era, huh?
Well, it's not just that, it's just that what I like about the Galactic Civil War era is that, yeah, there is a dark Force user, there's a light side Force user, but it's mostly about, like, those two people couldn't win this war by themselves. They had to have an army to back them up. And I see this a lot in expanded universe stories for other genres too, not just Star Wars, that an author will come in and create the all-time best baddie. It's like a comic book villain that he's all-powerful. He can read minds. All the advantages that the good guy has, he has the exact opposite of. And it's not interesting storytelling to me.
You like the enemy to have flaws.
Abeloth started off as one way, then started to become more powerful. Now she's Supreme Chancellor. Now she's a god. Now who cares? Personally, for me, that doesn't sound like an interesting story, because we've heard it a million times. I want Rogue Squadron back.
But you've heard that story a million times.
Yeah, but it's Rogue Squadron. It's different.
It's different. It's different because you like it.
Well, one is an all-powerful god that can't be stopped until it can. And then the other one is men and women putting their life on the line.
Sure.
Against other men and women who are doing the same.
I get that part, but it's still a story you've heard a million times.
Yeah, it's just that...
It's just a story you prefer.
I don't care about Supernatural. Not the show. I haven't actually watched the show Supernatural, so that's...
Well, if you don't care about
for all
Supernatural...
you Super Wholock fans out there...
If you don't care about Supernatural...
That means I hate
concept.
Doctor Who and Sherlock. I've been on Tumblr. I know these things, Ian.
I was going to say, if you don't like Supernatural as a concept, you're not going to like the show. Because, names relatively similar.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
So, yeah.
This podcast is going to be you pointing out slightly creepy things and me saying why they're dumb.
Yeah.
That's what I've discovered so far.
Yes.
All right, so what other dreams can I shatter today?
You have not been reacting the way I expected. Because I'm just like, hey, people thought these things were creepy. And you're like, nah, it's...
As we mentioned to each other just before we started recording, it is slightly above comfortable temperature in San Diego right now. As I told you I would say on the podcast, because we live in a city where the temperature never really deviates. When it does, it's uncomfortable for everything.
Yeah,
because we are spoiled.
It's just like, it's not even like unbearably hot or anything. It's just like slightly uncomfortable, and it's driving us insane.
Yeah, there's no wind right now, and so there's nothing like blowing through my apartment just to keep air moving, and just everything is still.
Yeah,
that's what creeps me out. Still air.
So space maybe would be.
There's no air in space.
I know, but there is the stillness.
There's only vacuum. We've established this, and you can breathe vacuum,
and you can create starships.
Air.
Yeah. Any things that... Well, I've named a couple things that creeped me out. Was there anything in Star Wars that... From the movies... Okay.
This is dumb, and it's not the creep out that you're looking for. But...
I'm looking for anything.
As I mentioned before, I watched the movies in reverse order.
Right.
So when I saw Empire Strikes Back, which would then, of course, be the second Star Wars movie I watched Luke's sister make out with her brother to prove a point to another man, and that always creeped me out because I just assumed at that time that they knew that they were siblings because they knew that in the third one, which was the first one I saw. So you're welcome. Most of the things that creeped me out and made me feel uncomfortable happen in the Clone Wars, with the writing and the plot. No, I'm kidding.
Fighting words.
So there's a couple episodes that I always skip because they are kind of boring. But the episodes with the droids and the colonel that fits inside one of the droids. When they crash land on that planet and it's just nothingness, just an expanse of nothingness, that freaks me out. Just in general. I did a lot of traveling with an old job I had, and I spent 4 or 5 hours on the road a day, and at some places in the Midwest, there's nothing. There are places in Texas where I was going 20 miles over the speed limit, and a police officer would drive past me and wave and smile as he was doing 3 times that. It was just a very weird, surreal, there's nothing here, and I think those episodes did a great job of making these desolate areas look desolate and also give a feeling of hopelessness for the situation. Even though the droids would have been fine, I was more concerned about that Republic colonel that was just sitting in it. Am I thinking of the right episode? Yeah, because that was a 3-episode arc, right?
Right, yeah.
So yeah, the emptiness creeped me out.
Did the emptiness of the desert in the opening of New Hope give you a similar feeling? No?
No. It's the way that planet was designed, where it was just like a salt flat firm, was as far as you could see.
Not even like geometric features.
Exactly.
Or
it was just
geological
it was
features,
literally
rather.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like anytime they go to the world between worlds sort of thing, in this fourth dimension, nothing is normal. Well, nothing is normal to what we understand as normal.
Right.
Especially in the Rebels one, where they have all those portals and stuff. It's just kind of like, this is a weird place. Why is there no floor? Why is there no ceiling? Why are there portals into time? Who built this? I don't like this.
Probably the same person who constructed Rainbow Road in Mario Kart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Like someone built this portal world just to piss Ian off.
Yeah.
Because the portals are time travel. You're welcome. Another thing that was unsettling, which is actually a reason why it's my favorite arc in Clone Wars, is all of the Umbaran campaign.
Oh, yeah.
It's always dark. The fog of war is just insanely thick, like literally speaking.
Yeah.
In that sense, and you never really see who they're fighting.
Right.
Until Krell goes insane and starts chopping up people, chopping up clones.
Well, he makes them fight themselves. Like that was legitimately unsettling.
But like we talked about in the Solo episode, that's what I really liked about Mimban, is that we never saw who they were fighting really, and we just knew that there was a fight going on and that it was a tough battle, but we didn't see who they're fighting, which I think is a good story for anything kind of like Imperial. Like, it doesn't matter who the enemy is.
Right.
Take one last ridge and then fireball.
Right, exploding. There was another arc in Clone Wars that was legitimately unsettling, and I think it was like at the very end, where is it 5s, where people just don't believe that
he has the chip.
He has the chip in his head.
Yeah, good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah, just like the slow deterioration of his mental state into just panic.
Mm-hmm.
That put me on edge. Yeah, to be creepy, you don't necessarily have to be, the classic horror tropes that we were talking about.
You can make out with your brother.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they're legitimately creepy. So John, I have one more thing for you. Ewoks. Some people are creeped out by them.
I'm not.
I know you're not.
I want to hug one.
But why do you think people are creeped out by Ewoks?
Because they are intelligent but primitive to our standards and are able to take out the Empire's forces.
That's why you think they're scary.
And maybe because they blink now.
Okay. I would add the...
Oh, and they eat people.
Yeah, I was going to add the implied cannibalism.
It's not implied. They eat people.
Yeah.
If you're going to execute people that got caught in a trap, you don't set them onto fire on a pit roast. You kill them with stone axes or arrows or large crushing boulders. They were cooking them. And I mean, haven't we all just wanted to cook somebody for their nutritional, delicious bodies?
No.
This might be one of those things where, like, I grew up with goth kids, so things are... I think of people more as food than as people.
I don't think that's a byproduct of hanging out with goth kids, John.
Oh, no, like these were, like, not goth as in, like, we wear black all the time and hang out in cemeteries. I'm talking, like we're gonna go fight the Normans goths.
I didn't know where you were going with that, and you got me. You got me. Any other things that spooked you?
Well, we did mention Rogue One. Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
And as I mentioned, there are a number of times when pilots eject into space and are just floating there. That always kind of freaked me out as a kid. Because if you think about it, you eject in space, and if you don't have a way for someone to find you, some sort of sensor, there's no way they're going to find you. Space is big, and you're the size of dirt in space. Actually, you're the size of yourself in space, but I mean...
Right.
If I took a piece of dirt and I just threw it on my carpet, you're never going to find it.
Right.
So good luck on that. Also, without not having a sealed environment suit. So never understood that.
The thing that comes to my mind too is that if you're ejecting, you're going at the same velocity of your ejection.
Because there's no drag in space.
Right.
Kerbal Space Program has taught me that. Well, except the Kerbal Space Program, there is drag because they can't calculate no drag. And so. Sorry, continue.
So you would just be, not only would you be drifting in space, you would be drifting in space away from wherever it was you originated at high speed by the time somebody comes to find you.
Yes. This is very, very true.
Oh, one thing just popped into my head back on the video game topic. Did you ever play Clone Commando?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I have it.
So Clone Commando is a game that did not age well.
No, it did not.
But I remember at the time when I first saw it being legitimately freaked out by a hive area where you have only your flashlight on and it's like dark and it's like that old school like Xbox era video game dark too, so like you can't see anything, and then just all of a sudden a Geonosian bug would just fly at your face and be horribly murdered.
How do we get through this whole episode and not talk about Geonosian zombies?
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know what? Because they're not creepy. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, I forgot about the Geonosian
weird zombie queen with her worm zombies.
Right. Yeah, those were creepy.
Hey, maybe next time, don't go against the Emperor. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe don't do that, and then they won't have to
eliminate your species.
Exterminatus your planet, to borrow a term from Warhammer 40k.
No, exterminatus is what they did to Alderaan.
Yeah, that's true.
Praise to the Emperor.
Like, I don't personally find it creepy, but I'm sure people who were young at the time of the Night Sisters zombie raising arc in Clone Wars probably found that to be a bit perturbing. And it's actually kind of a cool idea to have zombies versus robots, like the droid army versus the zombie horde was kind of neat, actually.
The undying versus the dead.
Okay, that should be the tagline for like a sci-fi C movie. Well, I got nothing else. Do you?
No, I remember I was super unprepared. I've been breathing spray paint and plastic dust because when you're building a prop, you should always wear the correct, proper safety equipment, because I don't.
Yeah, and you see what happens.
Yeah, and then my brain shuts down, and I cough up plastic, and things get dizzy real quick.
I have one final comment from our listeners to throw onto the pile. Richard said, when Kylo took his shirt off and Rey asked him to put it back on, cringe.
Is that creepy? Or was he upset that he was going to cover up?
I don't know. Richard is a man of mysteries. You always think he's thinking one thing, but then he's thinking another thing. He could go either way on that one, I think. I'm just going to wait for the response to that. Now, you are if you are going on the negative Kylo-Rey relationship there, Richard, I have to warn you. On the social media, it seems to me that the majority of people are for that relationship, and I have seen some very forceful opinions on that. So,
forceful, I get it.
Dare not bring the wrath down upon ye, good sir.
Ian, who do you ship?
I know I mentioned it in a tweet, and I might have mentioned it on the podcast. I know I am in the minority, but I'm still all about that Finn-Rey connection there. I thought they had great chemistry in The Force Awakens. I'd like to see that continue. That's my 2 cents on that matter. Well, my fate is sealed. I have been Ian.
Something, whatever.
That's been John. Excuse him, he's been inhaling fumes. And thank you for joining us on another episode of Hoth Topics. If you want to get a hold of us, you can find us on the Twitter at HothPod. If you want to get a hold of me personally on Twitter, you can at me at HothPodIan. We also have a website where you can go and see all of our prior episodes and our opinion pieces and prop builds. John, you're currently working on a E11 prop build?
Yeah, actually, well, by the time this releases, that should already be done.
Awesome.
It will be if I get around to editing this in time, I will have posted a tutorial every day for the past week, turning the rubies E11 that you can buy at Walmart and Target for like $15, and something slightly more screening.
Awesome. And finally, if you guys want to get a hold of us through email, you can email us hothpod@gmail.com.
Oh, the website is hothtopicspodcast.com. I don't think we mentioned that.
Hothtopicspodcast.com.
Hothtopicspodcast.com.
Hothtopicspodcast.com. Hot Topics Pockets.
Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets.
That's what we should have named our old show. Hot Pockets. Oh. Copyright and trademarked Hot Topics Podcast 2018. All rights reserved. Some of this unpunishable by death, dictated but not read. Ladies and gentlemen, roommate Mike.
Mike's here. Mike, when watching Star Wars as a kid, was there anything in the movies that kind of freaked you out or creeped you out?
The only thing that creeped me out that I can remember is in episode 3 when Palpatine kind of went crazy and his face changed.
Oh, that's a good one.
I wasn't expecting that, and then his face was a different shape and color.
Well, that's the price of unlimited power.
Yeah, exactly. Unlimited power took over both his brain and my brain at the time.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that, Mike. Dropping in with some knowledge.
There's some glazed old fashions on the counter if you'd like one.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. I didn't even have that one in my notes. I think that the face changing of Palpatine would be something kind of shocking.
The attempted assassination of an elected official by the treacherous Jedi Order.
Look, when that
not creepy at all. Heartbreaking is what that was.
When that elected official turns out to be Satan, I think you've got a little bit of leeway. No, Space Hitler Satan.
Just as heartbreaking when Obi-Wan turned on his best friend Anakin Skywalker.
You know what? Do you want no legs and to be in a volcano?
Yes.
I'm glaring at you.